What if the person who pulled you from the edge just disappeared without a word? And what if their warning still echoed in your mind, not because of what it revealed, but because of who it came from? Ethan Hayes believed the storm had passed. The betrayal? Uncovered. The threat? Handled. But then came the silence. The woman who saved him vanished without a trace, and a new, darker question crept in. Had he just escaped one trap only to stumble into another? Stick with this story, because in its final act, one handwritten letter, one accidental meeting, and one burning question will flip everything on its head. And the ending? No one saw it coming. It should have been the pinnacle of Ethan Hayes' career. From a teenage hustler selling candy on Phoenix buses to the sleek heights of a Seattle skyscraper, he had built Hayes innovations from grit, charm, and sheer refusal to quit. Now, after 8 relentless months of negotiations, he was minutes away from sealing a deal with Knox Global, a merger that would triple his net worth and etch his name into the tech world's elite. He straightened his cuffs, steadied his breath, and lowered his Mont-Blanc pen toward the dotted line. That's when it happened. A whisper, so soft it barely reached his ears, cut through the boardroom like a scalpel. Don't sign. It's a trap. Ethan froze. Slowly, he turned. There, leaning slightly over the table in a janitor's uniform, dark gray polo, faded khakis, stood a woman pretending to wipe down a fingerprint on the gleaming surface. Her gaze stayed down, but her voice, shaky yet razor-sharp, had already pierced its mark. And just like that, she was gone. Gone, before anyone even noticed. "Mr. Hayes," said Gerald Knox, the silver-haired CEO of Knox Global, tapping his manicured fingers against the polished table. "Is something wrong?" 8 months of work, chimed in Owen Grant, Ethan's chief operating officer and childhood best friend, with the same easy grin that had once gotten them out of detention and into their first investor meeting. "This is it, man. Everything we've ever worked for. Let's make it official." Ethan's hand trembled slightly. His eyes flicked from the signature line to Owen, then back again. Something was off. Deeply off. That voice, the woman's warning, kept replaying in his mind like an air raid siren. It's a trap. But a trap for what? Forcing a smile, he pointed casually to a random section of the contract. "Just one paragraph I'd like to double-check before signing," he said evenly. "Mind giving me 5 minutes?" Knox's lips tightened. "This is a take-it-or-leave-it deal, Mr. Hayes." "I won't be long," Ethan replied. Owen stood up as well. "Want me to take a look with you?" Ethan's answer came fast, sharper than intended. "No. Alone." Without waiting for a response, he turned and walked out. His heart thundered in his chest, but his focus had never been clearer. Halfway down the hall, something moved in the corner of his eye. The woman from before was standing near a service corridor. She gave a small, quick nod and disappeared through a side door. For a second, Ethan hesitated. Then he followed. The door clicked shut behind him. Overhead lights buzzed, the hum loud in the silence. "I'm Lena Brooks," the woman said quietly. "I clean offices here. Night shifts. You don't know me, but I've been around for months. And I've seen things, heard things I shouldn't have." "Like what?" Ethan asked, voice edged in disbelief. "Like Owen Grant and Gerald Knox," she said. "Steady now. Planning to destroy you." Ethan let out a short, bitter laugh. "That's ridiculous." "I know it sounds insane," Lena said quickly, eyes wide and urgent. "But this merger? It's a setup. Knox Global is broke. Bankrupt. Once you sign, their debt becomes yours. They walk free. You lose everything." A chill swept through Ethan. "That's a massive claim," he said. "Why would you even? I wouldn't be here if I wasn't sure." Lena pulled out her phone and opened a folder. "Here. Emails. Audio recordings. Wire transfers. Everything." Ethan scanned the screen. "Let Hayes sign. He's too arrogant to suspect a thing. Once it's locked in, he eats the debt. We walk. He's ruined in 8 months." Every word hit like a blade. He whispered, almost to himself, "Owen? No, he wouldn't." "He already has," Lena said gently. "I heard them talking 4 nights ago. They didn't know I was there. I've been documenting everything since." Ethan staggered slightly, gripping the wall to stay upright. "I don't get it," he said, voice low. "Why tell me this? You're putting your job, your life on the line." Lena's jaw tightened. "My dad trusted the wrong people. He lost everything. We lost our home. He worked 2 jobs until it killed him, trying to repay debt that wasn't even his." Her eyes didn't waver. "I've seen what men like Knox do to people like you, once you're no longer useful. I couldn't stay silent, even if it cost me everything." The room fell quiet. In Lena's gaze, there was no manipulation, just fierce, trembling honesty. Suddenly, puzzle pieces Ethan had ignored began snapping into place. The red flags. The odd timing. The failed deals Owen had always explained away so smoothly. It all aligned. He stepped back, drew in a breath, and locked eyes with her. "Show me everything." Lena handed over the phone. Ethan scrolled through the files, emails, transfers, recordings. And then, Owen's voice. "He's smart, but not that smart. He trusts me too much. We'll gut him before he knows he's bleeding." Ethan's stomach turned. His best friend. Practically a brother. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. Now he had a choice. Trust a stranger or lose everything. And if it were you, would you stop everything? If someone you didn't know whispered the truth right when it mattered most? Ethan's answer was silent, but certain. Yes. The door to the boardroom clicked shut behind him, soft in sound, loud in consequence. Inside Ethan's chest, pressure built like a storm. He held the truth now. The evidence was solid. But what he didn't have yet was the full scope of the betrayal or the perfect way to deliver his response. Lena stood quietly beside him, her phone still trembling in her hand as he flipped through damning emails, recorded conversations, financial documents. Each swipe peeled back another layer of the trap Owen and Knox had built, an entire scheme to dump the crumbling remains of a broken corporation onto Ethan's shoulders. The plan had been in motion for years. While Ethan was busy building his dream from scratch, Owen had been laying the groundwork for its collapse. He looked up from the screen and met Lena's eyes. Her face had gone pale, lips tight with resolve. "You know if they find out what you've done," he said softly, "your life changes too." Lena didn't hesitate. She nodded. "It already has." Ethan studied her for a beat longer, then something in his eyes changed. The panic was gone. What replaced it was colder, sharper, strategic. "Then we'll end this on our terms," he said, voice steeled. Meanwhile, in the boardroom, Gerald Knox was sipping espresso, completely at ease. Owen spun a pin between his fingers, wearing that same casual grin that had fooled Ethan for years. They didn't know what was coming. Not yet. Ethan walked back in alone, his expression unreadable. "Took you long enough," Owen joked, laughing lightly. "You good?" Ethan offered a faint smile. "Better than ever." He returned to his seat, picked up the pin, and let it hover just above the dotted line. "I just want to say," Ethan began, calm but direct, "this deal, it means everything. To me. To the company. To my legacy." Knox gave a slow, satisfied nod, lips curling into a smug half-smile. "Of course it does." Ethan's pen dropped slightly, then paused. "Which is why," he said smoothly, "I did a bit of last-minute due diligence." Owen's smile flickered. "What?" "I did some digging," Ethan continued. "Late in the game, I know. But you'll see why in a second." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a remote. One click. Behind them, the massive wall screen came alive. The first image, an internal financial report from Knox Global. Staggering losses. Hidden debts. Shell companies. Knox sat up straighter, his espresso untouched. Before either of them could react, Ethan tapped the remote again. Now the screen showed something worse, an authenticated email thread between Owen and Knox. The timestamps were clear. The subject, the merger. The tone, arrogant. The message, simple. He won't see it coming. Let him sign. Once it's done, it's all his mess. And we walk away clean. Owen's face strained. His voice cracked. "Where did you get that?" Ethan looked up, eyes like ice. "Oh," he said coolly, "we're just getting started." Ethan's voice cut like a blade. "Play the next one," he said coolly. The screen now played back an audio clip, Owen's voice, sharp and smug. "Once he signs, it's all his. He's too loyal to see what's coming." The room went still. Cold. Heavy. Dangerous. Owen flinched. Knox swore under his breath. Ethan turned slowly to face the man he once called a brother. "How long, Dan? How long have you been planning to burn everything we built together?" Owen stood abruptly, color draining from his face. "You don't get it. It's not what it looks like." "No," Ethan said, voice low and firm. "It looks like betrayal. And it sounds like conspiracy." Knox shot up from his seat. "This is outrageous. You can't." "Sit down," Ethan snapped, his voice slicing through the air. The doors opened quietly. Two security officers stepped into the boardroom, calm and watchful. Owen didn't bolt. Instead, he let out a bitter, hollow laugh that echoed around the room. "You always got everything, Ethan," he said, shaking his head. "The investors. The press. The spotlight. I was just the guy in the background, making things work. You got the credit. I did the labor. I kept the gears turning while you basked in the light." Ethan stared at him, silent. "Still, you want the truth?" Owen snapped. "Yeah, I helped set this up. And no, I don't regret it. For once, I was finally going to win." The betrayal was no longer abstract. It had a face, and it was painfully familiar. "I treated you like family," Ethan said quietly. "I trusted you with everything." "That was your mistake," Owen shot back. "You thought loyalty made you bulletproof. But in business, loyalty's just another weakness." Knox tried to inch toward the exit. Ethan stepped into his path. "And your company's a wreck. You thought I wouldn't find out." "I'll have my lawyers on this," Knox began. "They've already got everything," Ethan interrupted. "So do the Department of Justice and the SEC." Knox's face turned ghostly white. The security guards moved in. Knox didn't fight. But Owen? He didn't resist either. He just stared at Ethan, his expression torn between fury and something deeper. "You'll never know if this was the only betrayal," he said slowly. "How do you know the janitor didn't play you too? Ever wonder how she got her hands on all that?" Ethan's jaw tensed. "Don't." Owen's words landed like a final blow, meant to sting, meant to plant doubt. Even as they were escorted out, even as Ethan stood victorious, A question lingered, faint and cruel. Had Lena really come to help? Or had she been playing a longer game? Back in his private office, she was waiting. You did it, Lena said softly. But something in Ethan's eyes had changed. She spoke gently, her voice barely above a whisper. You did it. But Ethan didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed locked on her, sharp, searching, the kind of stare that made Lena's breath catch. What is it? She asked, her voice wavering just slightly. I need to know something, Ethan said, stepping toward her. When did you really decide to help me? Was it in that boardroom, or long before? Lena blinked, confused. I don't understand. His words cut through the air like a blade. Was I just part of some plan? Or did I just get lucky? Tears welled in Lena's eyes, not from guilt, but from something deeper, something raw. I risked everything for you, she whispered, her voice cracking. And I'd do it again. Ethan's expression softened for a moment, but the question had already been planted, and it was growing. That night, sleep never came. Not even victory could quiet the one thought that clawed at his mind. Was the whisper that saved him ever truly meant to? Or was he just a pawn in something bigger? And now, a question for you, the viewer. Do you believe Lena was honest from the beginning? Or is there still something she never told him? Type yes or no in the comments. As the city of Seattle glowed beneath his penthouse like spilled ink across glass, the world outside buzzed with headlines. Billionaire exposes $1.9 billion fraud. Merger scandal rocks tech industry. But inside, Ethan felt none of the triumph. Lena hadn't been seen since the confrontation. She'd slipped out during the chaos. No note, no goodbye. And yet, her voice stayed louder than any of the noise. Her phone, the one filled with damning evidence, was still in his possession. Every file still intact. Every recording time-stamped. Nothing tampered. No signs of manipulation. Still, that one thought echoed. What if Owen had been right? What if Lena had a part to play that he still didn't understand? He went home, tried to sleep, failed. At 3:42 a.m., Ethan found himself back in the storage room where it all began, as if the walls might still hold the truth. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't come through lies. Sometimes, it comes from the moment you begin to doubt the person who never gave you a reason to. The next morning, driven by a need for clarity, he walked to the front desk. I'm looking for Lena Brooks. The receptionist glanced up, surprised. She doesn't work here anymore. Ethan froze. She left a resignation note, she added. Said she was moving out of the city. Ethan stood frozen for a full minute. He didn't blink, didn't breathe. That night, he drove across the county, hitting every cleaning agency he could find. No one had ever heard of her. The number she'd used? Disconnected. It was as if Lena Brooks had vanished into thin air. But then, a week later, something arrived. A letter, handwritten, no return address. And the moment his eyes landed on the familiar handwriting, he knew. It was her. Ethan, you were never an assignment. And you were never naive. You simply trusted, something most people forget how to do once the world has had its way with them. That's rare. Keep it. I left because I finally understood something. No matter how honest I tried to be, I'd always carry the shadow of where I come from. And I didn't want to become a reminder of your darkest day. I didn't want your kindness to ever feel like guilt. But please know this, I believed in you. I still do. And I'll never forget the moment you looked me in the eye and believed in me when no one else ever had. Lena. He read the letter once. Then again. And with quiet care, he folded it neatly and placed it inside the top drawer of his desk. The weeks drifted by. Owen was found guilty of fraud and conspiracy. Knox lost everything, his empire, his reputation, forced into a plea deal to avoid prison. As for Ethan, he stepped away from Hayes Innovations. He needed time to breathe, to think, to rebuild, not just his business, but himself. He started investing in small, local ventures. Ones that felt real. Ones built on trust, the very thing that had nearly destroyed him, but also saved him. For months later, he found himself in Austin at a tech innovation conference. He almost skipped the networking session, but something told him to go. That's when he saw her. Lena was standing at a booth marked minority-owned startups. Her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. A name tag pinned proudly to her blazer. Lena Brooks, founder, ClearPath Services. She looked different, more confident, sharper, stronger. But she was still Lena. Still the woman who once whispered the truth when no one else had the courage to. Their eyes met. She froze. Then he smiled. And she didn't run. They didn't speak right away. Just stood there in the middle of a buzzing conference hall, lost in a silence that said everything. Finally, she whispered, "You tracked me down." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't. I just kept walking. You're the one who stopped disappearing." They stepped outside into the soft Austin breeze. The city here felt calmer than Seattle. Gentler. "You've done well," he said quietly. "I'm still building," she replied. "My sister's about to graduate med school. I finally got a place of my own. It's small, but it's mine." He tilted his head. "You still cleaning?" She laughed. "No. I run a team of 30 now." He nodded, the corners of his mouth lifting. "You were right, by the way. She lifted one brow, her voice steady. Trust isn't a weakness. It's a leap worth taking. They sat quietly on a weathered bench, cobblestones stretching out in front of them like a memory lane. Lena didn't look at him. I've never stopped thinking about that day, she said softly. But I had to walk away. I was terrified you'd only see me as the woman who saved you, not someone you'd ever choose freely. Ethan leaned forward, his words low and honest. I didn't choose to be rescued, Lena. I chose to believe in you. She turned then, her eyes searching his. Do you still? He nodded. Every single day since. Then, reaching into his coat, he pulled out a small box. I kept this, he said. I almost threw it out after the deal collapsed, but then I thought, maybe there's a better purpose for it. She hesitated. What is it? He opened the box slowly. Nestled inside was a simple silver pendant, engraved in small, delicate letters. You matter. I planned to give these to my staff if the merger went through, he told her. But none of them risked what you did. None reminded me who I was when I forgot. She touched the pendant like it held a live current. You don't owe me anything, Ethan. He met her gaze, unwavering. Maybe not. But I still want to build something with you. Not a business, not a strategy, something real. Lena's hands trembled around the pendant. What if it falls apart? Then we pick up the pieces, he said gently. And try again. That's what trust really means. For the first time in a long while, her smile came without hesitation. I think I've already started trusting you, she admitted. Maybe that's why I showed up to this conference. Some part of me hoped you'd be here. They didn't kiss. They didn't rush. But in that quiet moment, something shifted, clean, clear, and undeniable. A beginning. Over the next year, Lena's startup thrived. Ethan supported her silently, not because she needed saving, but because he believed in the mission. They shared morning routines, ideas, and, eventually, a home. The letter Lena once left him stayed folded in his desk drawer, until one day, she replaced it with a new one. It began with, "This isn't goodbye anymore. This is our beginning." Later, during a late-night TV interview, Ethan was asked how he survived one of the most brutal betrayals in business. He didn't talk about contracts or courtrooms. He said, "A stranger asked me to trust her. And I did. That changed everything. Now it's your turn, viewer. Do you still believe trust is worth it in a world full of betrayal?" Drop a 100 in the comments if Lena and Ethan's journey moved you. Tell us what country you're watching from. We'd love to hear your voice. And if you believe in second chances, share this story with someone who still has hope.